Greetings to all. Imagine searching for a needle in a haystack, a monotonous and extremely tiring task that can classically take you hours if you search piece by piece. Now, imagine doing the same with in the matter of minutes. This is exactly what the Grover's algorithm promises us: quadratic speedup for unstructured search problems. I'm Krishna Gupta and I'm here to present our research paper about how the Grover's algorithm can be used to solve optimization problems and how can the oracle phase can be edited and it affects it. So let's take a look at today's agenda. First of all, I'll give a brief introduction about quantum computing and then we'll discuss the basic background about quantum computing. After that, we'll take a detailed look into the Grover's algorithm and then we'll take a look at our methodology, results, conclusion, future work, implications, and references. So, the idea of quantum computing originated way back in the early 80s and 90s with Richard Feynman and his 1982 paper. Since then, the idea of quantum supremacy has been theorized multiple times. But the only time we actually got a quantum supremacy software algorithm was in 1994 with the Shor's algorithm. 2 years later, we got the Grover's algorithm, which also promises quadratic speedup over classical algorithms. Now, the Shor's algorithm actually promises exponential speedup over classical algorithms to the state that even the best of the classical algorithm, that is the general field sieve theorem, combined with the best of supercomputers, are nothing compared to the Shor's algorithm. And Shor's algorithm is also extremely groundbreaking because if we apply it on a powerful enough quantum computer, it can break all of the current RSA encryption systems. But then the question arises, if quantum computing has so much potential, why isn't the world been revolutionized yet? So for that, the answer is that even though we have various quantum supremacy softwares and algorithms, the hardware part is still lacking. The best quantum computer we have till now has 1180 qubits. However, but to apply something like the Shor's algorithm on a large scale, we would require millions of qubits. But even on the hardware side, we have been making significant progress, and in 2019, Google actually proved quantum supremacy on a physical quantum computer with a mini code. Now, coming to the problems that the Grover's algorithm can solve. So, ideally, Grover's algorithm is designed for just unstructured search problems. However, it has been optimized to solve some other problems like the MQ problem or the maximum clique problem. And this paper as well will be looking at different optimization problems that we can solve using the Grover's algorithm, such as the knapsack problem or the pathfinding problem or the satisfiability problem. And we'll look how we can edit the oracle phase to be able to consider these problems in a way of an unstructured search problem. At the end, we'll also look at a recent claim made by Ying Liu in 2024, which claims that the Grover's algorithm actually does not hold its root and time complexity. Coming to the background knowledge, so the question arises, what is quantum computing at the end? So quantum computing, as the name suggests, is when a computer uses quantum mechanical properties. Now, what are these quantum mechanical properties? So first of all, superposition. In a normal computer, we have bits, which are either 0 or 1. But in a quantum computer, we have qubits, which can represent both 0 and 1 at the same time. They can either be in a perfect superposition, that is when the amplitude of the 0 state and the 1 state would be 50-50. So there would be 1 to root 2 amplitude for 0 and 1 by root 2 amplitude of state 1, which would lead to 1 by 2 probability of each. Or we can have a linear combination of amplitudes such that the probability adds up to 1. This also brings us to the relation of amplitude and probability. So amplitude squared basically leads to the probability as derived from Schrodinger's equation. Then it is also important to notice that any quantum operation must always be unitary. that is, the sum of the probabilities should always lead to 1 and all the quantum functions should be reversible. Then the second property is quantum entanglement, or as famously known as the spooky action at a distance by Sir Albert Einstein. So the property of quantum entanglement states that when two qubits get entangled, the difference in state of one qubit can directly impact the state of other qubit. And the property of superposition and quantum entanglement together leads to quantum parallelism. Quantum parallelism is the reason behind the exponential power of a quantum computer. That is, with just n number of qubits, we can represent 2 to the power of n states. So, suppose we just have 2 qubits, but since both of them are in superposition and both of them are entangled, we can represent 4 states 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, and 1, 1 at the same time. And just for example, say we have 20 qubits. With just 20 qubits, we can represent over a million states. This is the power of a quantum computer. For a classical computer, we'd have to take a look at each of those states individually. But with a quantum computer, with just n qubits, we can take a look at 2 to the power of n states simultaneously. So then let's take a look at quantum gates. So these are basically normal functions, like in a normal coding, we have functions that we apply to the data points. We have quantum gates. So we have the Hadamard gate, which when we apply to a qubit, it turns that qubit into a superposition of 0 and 1. Then we have the X gate, which basically turns the 0 amplitude to 1 and the 1 amplitude to 0. Then we have the X gate, which leaves the 0 amplitude as it is and flips the sign of 1 amplitude to -1. So now let's take a detailed look at what the Grover's algorithm is. So as we know that Grover's algorithm promises quadratic speedup for unstructured searches. It is comprised of 4 steps. First we have the state preparation, then the Grover's oracle, then the diffusion operator and measurements. We can understand Grover's oracle in a way that it is a friend who has bought a surprise gift for you and won't tell you what the gift is. You have to wait for the diffusion operator or your birthday to reveal that gift, and then you can measure the level of your happiness. Now let's take a detailed look at each of the steps. So superposition step basically does apply the Hadamard gate on each of the qubits. So like at this point we can represent 2 to the power of n states with n qubits, and all of these states have same amplitude and same probability. So they have 1 to the power of 1 by n probability and 1 by root n amplitude. The oracle step is the second step. So when all the states go through the oracle looks at all of them simultaneously, and the oracle knows the condition of the correct answer. So with that condition, oracle is able to know which the correct answer is, and it marks it. However, because we have represented all these answers in a quantum way, we cannot derive them directly. So we have to apply the Grover's diffusion operator to be able to retrieve the correct answer from the oracle. The oracle does not change probability. However, it does mark that correct state in a negative way. So it applies the X gate. Now coming to the Grover diffusion operator, this is the step where the time complexity comes from. So the Grover's diffusion operator basically increases the amplitude of the correct state and decreases the amplitude of the wrong states. And to understand it, let's take a look at it geometrically. So the W state is basically the winner state or the correct state, and the S state we can see here is the superposition state. Now in the superposition state, the vector is 1, 1, 1, 1 because let's take an example of 2 qubits. So we have 4 states. We have 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 and 1, 1. So in the superposition state, all of them have the same amplitude of 1, 1, 1, 1 normalized by 1 by 2. So their probability would be 1 by 4 of each. Now for the winner state, we can see that it has 0 for all the others and just the correct one, which is the 1, 1 state, it has the vector of 1. So what we can see is that the winner state is almost orthonormal to the superposition state. And if we remove this winner vector from the superposition vector, we can achieve this S prime state, which is basically actually orthonormal to the winner state. And at this point, we have the amplitudes of all of them as 1 by root 10. 1 by root 10. Okay, so this is the first step. This is the oracle step. So when all the states go through the oracle, we can see that the oracle marks the correct state as the negative one. So the oracle reflects the superposition state, that is a correct state, across the S prime state and brings it here. So we apply the UF reflector and bring it here. So after bringing it here, it has basically the vectors of 1, 1, 1 and -1 normalized by 1 by 2. At this step, the amplitude of all the other states increases to make the unitary operator work, because the amplitude of the winner state has gone in minus. After this, we reflect back the oracle step, basically let's call it stage 5. So we reflect it back across the original superposition state and basically bring it here. So with this step, we can see that we are 2 theta closer from our original superposition state to our winner state. And at this step, the amplitude of the winner state has actually increased. Okay. So we need to get the amplitude increased enough so that whenever we measure the superposition, we always get the winner state. So we either need to bring this our current state overlap the winner state, or we can bring it close enough that whenever we measure, it collapses into the winner state. So let's just overlook the steps one. So we have n qubits. We apply the Hadamard gate to all of them and turn them into superpositions. Then we apply the oracle or the UF reflector and reflect them into the negative axis. And then we apply the identity reflector and reflect them again across the original superposition state. And we repeat this step root n times, which basically leads us to the point that whenever we measure the state, it will always be close enough to the winner state. Now, one interesting thing to notice is that at each step, the increase in the theta that we get close from the superposition state to the winner state is always 3 to the power of y plus 1 theta, where y is the number of iteration it is. So basically, when we get the UF reflector, that is when we reflect the original superposition across the S prime state, we reflect 1 theta, which is 3 to the power of y minus 1 theta. And when we reflect it back across the S state, we reflect back 3 to the power of 1 minus 1 plus 1 theta. So at the end, after the end of each iteration, will be closer by 3 to the power of y plus 1 theta from the superposition state to the winner state. Now let's also take a look at why exactly root n iterations. So what we can see is that if in the first step, the value of theta was pi by 2, the superposition state would overlap with the winner state. So that's why, and in the first step, we actually come 2 theta closer to the winner state. That's why 2 theta into k, if it would be equal to pi by 2, we get our winner state. And when we solve it, we get that the value of k is almost equal to root n. It's actually less than root n, but like it will never be more than root n, and be like as late as it can be. So let's take a look at methodology. So first of all, we went through various types of optimization problems and saw which problems can be implemented in such a way that the operator would think them of as search problems, and hence we could apply the Grover's algorithm on them. After that, we designed the oracle in such a way that it would consider all of those problems as search problems and be able to solve them. Then we implemented and ran the code on Qiskit. After that, we analyzed our research variables. So our main research variable here, the dependent variable, is basically the circuit complexity. And circuit complexity is nothing but the number of qubits, the number of gates, the number of parallel gates. So the gate depth is basically when there are gates subsequential to each other. That is how complicated the gates will be. And the controllable variables here were the oracle design and the size of the problem. Now let's take a look at the results. So first of all, we applied the Grover's algorithm for what it originally is designed, that is an unstructured search. So we took a simple example of a list of 4 elements, and first we applied the classical algorithm, classical way itself. So here we can see that we were looking for 7, and as it is at the 4th place, basically the algorithm ran n times, so the time complexity was n, and we were able to retrieve the answer in the classical form. Then here is it in the quantum computing way. So for the unstructured search, quantum computing already has a predefined oracle, specifically when there are 2 qubits. So we didn't have to design the oracle in this problem. But we can see that at the first step, this is the superposition of them after applying the Hadamard gate. Then this is our circuit. And after we ran the result, we were able to retrieve, because 7th was as the last position, we were able to retrieve 1, 1 as the answer. And the time complexity was just 1, which is less than 2. That is like the maximum it can be. Then the second problem we tried on was slightly harder. It was the satisfiability problem. So the problem was that imagine you are throwing a dinner and you have to invite 3 friends, but 2 of them are great friends. But one of the friend has fight with another friend. So say Abe and Amira have a fight with each other. So how do you invite the maximum number of friends such that no one is disappointed? So we basically created a Boolean expression for the oracle for this problem. And there's an interesting observation here that will come to later. But we can see that after running just 2 iterations, we were able to get one of the result, which is a correct result, which invites Jin, Olivia and Amira to the party. Then we tried the same algorithm on the knapsack problem. So we took a simple problem where we had 3 items and the weights were 2, 3 and 4 units respectively, and the values were 3, 4 and 5. So the maximum limit on weight was 5 units. Here we can see another interesting result, that the correct answer, basically in which we have item 1 and 2, so that their maximum weight is 5 and value is 7, was the answer we got all the times, but it had the probability of 980. There was another result which is 011, which is basically item 2 and 3. Now it is not possible because of the weight constraints, but it has the highest value, and it also had at least a noticeable probability of coming up, whereas the others were negligible probabilities. Then we did the 4th and the last pathfinding problem. So here we had to start at this grid and end up at the destination one. And we can see that the crosses are basically obstacles. Here too we were able to get the correct answer with the probability of 960. But we did get some wrong answers. And this is also an interesting observation. So what we were able to see is that when we design the oracle ourselves, that is when the probability of the correct answer reduced. So we still got the correct answer each time, but the probability was lesser. Now you may think it is because we are designing the oracle, but it is actually related to the number of qubit gates we are applying. So the more quantum gates we applied, the more probability of other states were present. This basically shows that there was the existence of noise or disturbance. There was some noise that whenever we applied more gates, there was more noise, and hence we were able to get slightly higher probabilities of the incorrect answers as well. Yeah. And then the number of qubits was same. It was, if there are n states, then it was 2 to the power of n qubits. And time complexity also, each time we got it in less than, it was honestly less than root n complexity. So out of the 7 times we ran, we got 5 times, like 1 lesser than the root n time complexity, and 2 times we got equal to the root n complexity. Then the probability of, yes, this is one interesting observation, that whenever we added more gates, the probability of the correct answer reduced. So we need to make sure, because adding more gates is making the problem more customizable. We are able to define more variables in the problem, but it is also adding more noise to it. And the last interesting observation is the dinner problem, because it had 2 correct answers. We could have invited Jin, Abe and Olivia, and we could have invited Jin, Olivia and Amira, and both of them were correct answers. But the quantum computer basically chose one answer and reduced the probability of the other answer, which contradicts a recent claim made by Ying Liu in his paper in 2024. So the paper is titled "The Complexity of the Oracle Phase in Grover's Algorithm." And the major claim in his paper is that in two edge cases, that is if the solution of the problem is not in the list, or if there are multiple solutions in the list, the claim of root n time complexity does not hold. Instead, it takes n time complexity. Now, if we took it with our own observations and our own logical thinking, then we believe that if there are multiple solutions, then there are three possible ways. That is that the algorithm would consider both the correct answers at the same time, or it will pick one of them and stick with it, or after each iteration, it may pick a different answer. The point is that the third one is not possible because the oracle does not iterate, just the Grover diffusion operator does. So it will just pick one answer and it will stick to it. This is what we got in our observation. But if it does pick one answer, then the root and time complexity still holds. Either it's possible that it considers all the options at once. So we remember that we subtracted the winning vector from the superposition vector. Now if it subtracts two of the winning vectors from the superposition vector, then it won't be possible to continue with the reflections. But even in that case, the time complexity would be zero because the code simply won't run. Then the other edge case he mentioned was that if there are no correct solutions. In this case also we think that there are three possible options. One is that the code would terminate there itself, or maybe it may pick some random answer, or it may loop and continue looping. But in either of the case, there won't be n time complexity. If it loops, then it would be an endless loop. If it's a random answer, it would still be root n time complexity. And if it terminates, then it's zero time complexity. So to conclude, with this research paper, we were basically able to apply different types of search problems using the Grover's algorithm, and we were able to investigate how the oracle phase affects the Grover's algorithm and how it runs. Also, we were able to study a recent claim made by Ying Liu in 2024 and counter his claim. One of the interesting implications of our research is, see, in the past few days, we have been discussing how AI is the peak of software and how it's the peak of software. But if we talk about quantum computing, then it is the peak of hardware. And time is changing, the technology is evolving, and we'll have to evolve with it as well. So in such a future for quantum computing, if it's gonna revolutionize the world, actually the problems like the problems that we applied it, like the satisfiability problems on large data structures, it can be really helpful. So for that, we need to study how the Grover's algorithm would actually work and how we can make the best use of the oracle phase. We can use it to various problems, even at the doctor and hospital match problems. Those can be implemented to it as well, because we can basically consider all the combinations as elements in the list, and then we can put our restrictions about what should be the ideal answer, and it would pick it. So we can convert a lot of problem into search problems and apply the oracle accordingly and solve them with the Grover's algorithms. Future work. So coming to the future work, one of the interesting implications that we came was obviously how the noise increases when we basically personalize the problem more. So we need to work on how we can fix that extra noise that comes with adding extra gates. One of the possible solution is that we turn to gate complexity. That is when instead of adding gates subsequently, we add gates parallelly. So it reduces the noise, but it still adds extra noise. So we'll have to look into that. After that, we can obviously try it on more and more NP problems to come to a more generalized way of how the oracle should be edited. And yes, we can also try it on more error problems so that we can see what kind of errors can generate when we are applying it to larger data sets, and we can work on those. And also about the counterclaim we made for the Liu 2024 paper, we need to prove how it does hold the root and time complexity. So more work needs to be done on that proof. So here are the references. Thank you everyone, and I'll be open to questions.
Such a heavy paper, isn't it? Of the latest findings also incorporated. 2024 findings also incorporated. It all started with yes. Finding
prime number.
prime prime
Last
numbers
number
or prime
is
factors of a number.
Sorry,
Prime factors of a number or prime numbers?
prime factors of a number.
Prime factors of a number,
Last
isn't it? After that, it went on, and this quantum computing. Quantum computing is it is latest day, and those who want to become a computer scientist, then you should, and it is going exponentially. The findings are growing exponentially, and to keep in touch with them itself is very difficult. If you want to become a computer engineer, you should start from right now, so that like her, so that you will become in future a very good computer engineer. I wish her all to become that. A good paper, a very good paper.
Is how much it is important for the research. She has reviewed from the old traditional paper and still update 2024 paper. That is the first one what we should learn. When you go for taking some solution or you wanted to find a solution, taking some problem, the literature review plays a major role. And at the final stage, she has showed us the future. She analyzed the problem, she got the result, she concluded, and she thinking about the future. So whenever we come up with some solution, we should always think about the future also. Whether in the future, whether it will be the success or not. How can you overcome that? So I think these can be taken as a learning, even if you are not aware of the quantum computing.